Hot dogs are supposed to be simple. You throw them on the grill, add mustard, ketchup, maybe a little relish, and suddenly it feels like summer. Across Canada every year, families buy hundreds of millions of hot dogs. Backyards fill with the smell of grilled franks. Kids run around with buns in their hands. And most people never stop to ask a simple question. What is actually inside the hot dog? Because the truth is, not all hot dogs are created equal. Some are made from real cuts of meat and carefully balanced spices. Others are little more than industrial meat paste, engineered for profit. And in Canada, several of the brands people trust the most are quietly selling products that experts say are overprocessed, overloaded with sodium, and built from ingredients most consumers never see on the label. But there's another problem most Canadians don't realize. Many of the brands competing on grocery store shelves are actually owned by the same corporations, which means the choice you think you're making might not be a choice at all. Today, we're ranking 5 Canadian hot dog brands you may want to avoid based on ingredients, corporate history, and overall product quality. And at the end, we'll reveal 3 brands that actually do things differently. But trust me, once you see what's happening inside the hot dog industry, you may never shop the same way again. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, Maple Leaf Natural Top Dogs. The word natural is one of the most powerful marketing tools in the grocery industry. When shoppers see it on a label, it creates an immediate impression. Cleaner, healthier, better for your family. That's exactly the image Maple Leaf Foods wanted when it introduced natural top dogs. On the surface, the branding looks reassuring. No artificial preservatives, no artificial flavors. But here's the detail most consumers never stop to examine. Natural on a hot dog label does not mean the product isn't heavily processed. These hot dogs still rely on the same fundamental industrial techniques used across the processed meat industry. Mechanically separated meats, sodium phosphates, sodium erythrobate, ingredients designed primarily for shelf stability and manufacturing efficiency. The texture tells part of the story. Instead of the firm snap associated with natural casing sausages, these hot dogs have a soft, almost spongy bite. And the flavor? Mild, forgettable, designed to offend no one but impress very few. There's also a deeper piece of corporate history attached to this brand. In 2008, Maple Leaf Foods was responsible for one of the most serious food safety incidents in Canadian history. Listeria contamination in deli meats produced at a Toronto facility led to 23 deaths across the country. The company implemented major reforms afterward, and there have been no incidents of that scale since. But for many consumers, the event permanently changed how they view the brand. Natural top dogs may sound reassuring, but once you look beyond the label, they remain just another mass-produced hot dog designed for supermarket shelves. Number 4, Lafleur hot dogs. If you grew up in Quebec, Lafleur probably feels like part of your childhood. For more than a century, the brand has been deeply woven into Quebec's food culture. Walk into almost any casse-croûte in Montreal or Quebec City, and you'll find the classic steamé hot dog. Soft bun, steamed frank, mustard, relish, onions. It's practically a regional tradition. The company traces its origins back to 1912, when a butcher named Alphonse Lafleur began selling sausages in Quebec City. That heritage story still appears on the packaging today, but the reality behind modern Lafleur products is very different. Today, the brand operates within the large-scale industrial meat processing network of Olimel, one of the largest meat companies in Canada. That means production is no longer the small butcher operation many people imagine. Instead, it's part of a massive supply chain optimized for volume, consistency, and cost efficiency. The product itself reflects that system. Lafleur hot dogs are designed primarily for steaming, not grilling. On a barbecue, they often split open quickly and lose moisture. The flavor profile leans slightly sweet, a traditional Quebec style, but outside the region, many consumers find it surprisingly bland. And the ingredient list? Nearly identical to budget competitors. Mechanically separated meats, modified starches, phosphates, additives designed to stabilize processed meat emulsions. Lafleur wins on nostalgia, but once the nostalgia fades, the hot dog itself struggles to stand out in a crowded field of very similar products. Number 3, Lester's hot dogs. Lester's is one of those brands that carries a powerful reputation. Founded in Montreal in 1931, Lester's became famous for something very specific: Montreal smoked meat. If you've ever visited a classic Montreal deli, you know exactly what that means. Hand-sliced brisket, peppery spice crust, tender meat piled high on rye bread. It's one of Canada's great food traditions. But here's where things get complicated. A company that excels at one product doesn't automatically excel at everything else, and Lester's hot dogs are a perfect example of that problem. While the smoked meat continues to carry the brand's legacy, the hot dogs are a completely separate product line designed for supermarket distribution. That means large-scale manufacturing, standardized recipes, and ingredients chosen primarily for cost efficiency. The result is a hot dog that looks appealing on the shelf, but doesn't offer much beyond the familiar processed flavor most consumers already know. The texture is smooth and emulsified, the spices do most of the work, and the meat itself plays a surprisingly small role in the final taste. Lester's isn't a bad hot dog, but it's also not a particularly memorable one. What you're really buying is the reputation built by a completely different product.
Number 2, Maple Lodge Farms Poultry Franks. For consumers trying to reduce red meat, poultry hot dogs can look like a healthier option. Lower fat, lower calories, often marketed as lighter alternatives to traditional beef franks. Maple Lodge Farms built an entire product line around that idea. The company has been processing poultry in Brampton, Ontario since 1955, and today it's one of the largest chicken processors in Canada. But poultry hot dogs come with their own challenges. Chicken and turkey naturally contain much less fat than beef or pork, and fat is what gives traditional hot dogs their juicy texture. Without it, the product can quickly become dry, rubbery, and overly reliant on seasoning. Many consumers describe poultry franks as tasting bland unless they're heavily covered with condiments. But flavor isn't the only concern attached to the brand. Over the years, Maple Lodge Farms has faced multiple controversies, including legal charges related to animal welfare violations in 2013. The company later pleaded guilty to several charges connected to those investigations. While Maple Lodge continues to operate and supply products nationwide, the history remains part of the brand's record. For consumers seeking halal certification or lower fat options, poultry franks may serve a purpose. But for pure flavor, they rarely compete with traditional beef hot dogs. Number 2, Alamel Industrial Hot Dogs. If there is one company that represents the industrial side of Canada's hot dog industry, it's Alamel. Alamel is one of the largest pork processors in the country. Its facilities process enormous volumes of meat every year, supplying both branded products and private label grocery items. In fact, many store-brand hot dogs found across Canada may be manufactured within Alamel's production network. That scale creates efficiency, but it also creates a very specific kind of product: hot dogs engineered to meet minimum acceptable quality at the lowest possible cost. The flavor is standardized, the texture is uniform. Every ingredient is carefully calculated to balance price, shelf life, and production speed. There's nothing technically wrong with these hot dogs. They're safe to eat, they meet regulatory standards, but they also represent the ultimate expression of industrial food processing: predictable, efficient, and completely unremarkable. The 3 hot dog brands that actually stand out. Not every brand follows the same industrial formula. Some companies still focus on better ingredients and stronger flavor. 3 brands in particular stand out. Number 3, Greenfield Natural Meat Co. Greenfield focuses on stricter production standards: no antibiotics, no artificial ingredients, animals raised under specific welfare guidelines. The ingredient list is noticeably shorter than most competitors, and the flavor reflects that difference: cleaner beef taste, less artificial aftertaste, a firmer bite. Number 2, Mitchell's Gourmet Foods. Originally founded in Saskatchewan, Mitchell's built its reputation on higher quality meat products. The hot dogs deliver a stronger, smoky flavor and a firmer texture than most mass-market brands. For Western Canadians especially, Mitchell's remains one of the most consistently reliable options. Number 1, Schneider's Juicy Jumbos. Few brands have deeper roots in Canadian meat processing than Schneider's. The company's origins date back to 1886 in Kitchener, Ontario. While the brand is now part of Maple Leaf Foods, Schneider's Juicy Jumbos still deliver one thing many competitors lack: flavor. The seasoning balance is stronger, the texture has a satisfying snap, and the overall product simply tastes more like a real sausage instead of processed filler. Final thoughts.
Hot dogs may seem simple, but behind the grill and the bun lies a surprisingly complex industry, one where branding, corporate ownership, and industrial processing often matter more than the ingredients themselves. The good news? Once you know what to look for, finding better options becomes much easier. And sometimes the difference between an average hot dog and a great one is only a few dollars at the checkout.